Could you explain? You gave me some practical examples of that. I think you were referencing the JFK assassination. Could you explain to the viewer what that means practically in terms of an operation like the JFK assassination?
Yeah, so it means that if the CIA and certain elements of the military want to get rid of JFK, want to say, oh, he's a communist threat or whatever BS pretext that they're trying to use to get rid of him, that they can go to the Crown and they can get the Crown to order that and get MI6 to facilitate that. And then it's not illegal and it can be kept secret forever. So if you've noticed in the justification, in the BS justifications that they've gotten over and over and over again for not declassifying the JFK documents, what does it say? It says it would cause identifiable harm to the law enforcement, military intelligence, and the conduct of foreign relations. Key kicker there. So essentially, they could label this classification because they could say, oh, if people ever found out that this was, the Brits helping us do this, then that would irreparably harm our relationship with the Crown and with our closest ally. And so the priority of keeping that secret to maintain this ally, a good relation with this ally, outweighs any public interest in disclosure. And they did that with the Vegas thing too. That was on the part of the Saudis.
October 1st, 2017.
Yep. We'll get into that in a bit, but essentially, so I listened to this thing with Roger Stone the other night, and he was talking about, all the various players that had bones to pick with JFK, from the bankers to the intelligence services to the mafia and all this stuff. And in his calculation, the nexus between all those points was LBJ. And LBJ, was a savvy guy, but he didn't have the pull like that. He didn't have the resources to be able to make that happen unless he had a massive, like the world's most massive and oldest intelligence service behind him. Right? So that's the real nexus, and LBJ is just the beneficiary.
Yeah, because Roger Stone's book about the man who killed Kennedy's, he points a finger at LBJ as being pretty much the necessary fulcrum to all of the assassination plans. I mean, you don't agree with that assessment?
I don't agree that he was the one that had the pull to make it happen against the president. And I think later on, he demonstrated this willingness to use foreign intelligence services to achieve his ends on the USS Liberty. So that was a situation where they were trying to make stuff happen in the Middle East, and they got the Israelis to attack an American signals intelligence ship to kind of cut that off. So I think LBJ demonstrated later on that he knows exactly how that works, of getting foreign intelligence services to scratch an itch on your back for you. And so I don't necessarily think it's wrong that he was intricately involved, that he was, definitely wanting that to happen. He had that one quote, what was it, during the election, that was like, oh, they're like, why would you be his vice president? He's like, oh, well, it's just a heartbeat away from the presidency.
Yeah.
Right. So
and Nixon pretty much said that, he, in not so many upfront words, but definitely hinted at him believing that LBJ was willing to kill a president, I think was his quote.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't doubt that he was ruthless enough to want to kill the president and to try to set that in motion. I just contest that he had the resources and the pull to be able to make it happen at that level.
So you think in that whatever's left with the JFK files, I think like 3% of the documents or whatever, you think within that there's evidence that there was foreign involvement with MI6?
I do. Wow. And I think that's one of the things that is the lever they're using to keep it so secret for so long. And so I use the finders as my little lever there, the one where the CIA, right? Mm-hmm. Even if they do terrible things themselves, that's allowed to come out, right? So the finders was that CIA child kidnapping ring, and they would steal these kids from tunnels out of preschools, and they would lock them in cages and do these crazy satanic rituals on them to traumatize them enough so that they would be docile and not run away. So I think based on the finders, right, they are willing to admit that the CIA was involved in some of the worst things imaginable. And I think this JFK stuff, at least how they view it, is considerably worse.